Hello art lovers and magical folk. I would like to do a video today about my recent experience at Earthsong Witchcamp held here in Victoria. It was bananas and it was probably one of my peak magical experiences that I've had in my life. I had got so much out of it. I knew going into it that it was going to be a really magical experience because I went to a witch camp last year called Cloudcatcher, which is the witch camp held in Queensland, and that was really amazing. And I came away from that camp just going, holy shit. So I knew that this was going to be magical. I just didn't realize how transformative and intense it was going to be. And I thought I would share that with you all here in lovely YouTube land. So yes, settle in. Let's have a chat about witch camp. So the lovely Eris, whose video I will link below, she has done a video this week on her experience of the AWC and witch camp. And when I saw her video, I was like, yep, I would like to make one too. And it's been hard to put into a summary what exactly happened at witch camp because it was so intense, and sometimes speaking about our magical work dilutes it. But I'll see how I go. I'll see if I can put the wonder and mystery into succinct English language. Probably, who knows how we will go with this. So a little bit about witch camps as a background. They are a part of the reclaiming witchcraft tradition, which was begun by Starhawk. She was a Faerie initiate, that's F-E-R-I, which is an American witchcraft tradition that was founded by Victor and Cora Anderson. Starhawk was one of their initiates, and she then took Faerie teachings and I believe permaculture teachings and goddess spirituality and created this thing called reclaiming tradition. And the witch camps are basically like witch boot camp, like really friggin' intensive week-long spiritual endeavors. It's not like you're going on retreat, or you're not going, it's not a witch festival where we can all like hang out and be social, although there is social elements in there. It's actually a lot of really bloody hard work actually. And I think when I went to the first Cloudcatcher I didn't realize that. I really do love doing my spiritual work though, so thank goodness. Because if you're not willing to literally face your demons this time, because we were doing the work of Kali, but yeah, if you're not willing to do your work, then it's not probably a place you want to go be, because it's so confronting sometimes. But that's where the magic is, hey? So yes, anyway, it's this ridiculous boot camp of ritual and path working and wonder that takes place over a week. There's lots of different aspects to a witch camp. Let me break it down. There's path, so you choose usually out of 3 paths, but sometimes more. If you've never been to a witch camp before or done any work with reclaiming, you'll do the elements path, which is like the elements of witchcraft. So you'll go through reclaiming style 101, but I did that when I went to Cloudcatcher last year, and it was still a wondrous way to go to my first camp, because I learnt the way that reclaiming does ritual, and the way that they are encircled together, and the way that they work together is very different to the way that I've worked in other traditions. And so it's actually really wonderful to go back to these basics that are, you know, they're the foundations of our magic, and to learn the foundations of a tradition in a format of camp was actually beautiful. And I probably want to do elements more often, because every teacher that runs it through the camp has a different flavour of working. And so listening to the people who did the elements path this camp, they went through a completely different way than the way I did it when I went to my camp. So it's really bloody interesting, actually. I'm just a total witch nerd and want to learn all the things. So yeah, hooray for Elements Path. The other paths that were on offer at this camp was a devotional path, and then another path called Dancing with Demons. And it was demon work because the mythology of the camp was Kali Ma, and the story of Kali, the Hindu goddess. So each camp has these stories and mythologies. I'll link you to G'day Palmer's site, Faerie, and they have written a really great poem, prose, reflective piece on all the different, no, it includes a list of all the different stories at the bottom, that all the different mythologies that the Australian witch camps have covered. And it's just a really nice read about G'day's take on witch camp. I'll also link some other resources. There's like a witch camp website, there's reclaiming websites, and blah blah. Witch camps are all over the world, so for people who are not in Australia, this is something that you can do. And you know, there's America and Canada and England, and I'm sure other places. I don't know exactly. I don't have the map with me. But yes, there's internet resources that can help lead you in the right direction if you think that this is something that you would like to do. And yeah, I really recommend it if you want to go and do some crazy witch stuff. So beyond paths, beyond the theme that kind of encapsulates the whole camp regardless of what path you have. So we had Kali, we had the paths that you choose, and then you do that path is kind of like your work, and you'll have 2 teachers that run that work for you each day. And I chose to do this demon work. It was a really hard decision to make. I at first thought I would do the devotional path. When I first saw that there was demon work going, I was like, nah, I don't need to go to a witch camp and do that to myself. I don't need to do a big pile of shadow work in public. Way too confronting. And then as this year has progressed, doing the Iron Pentacle, doing the work that I have been doing in my personal practice, it just became very clear that the demon path was the one I was going to do. And I was very reluctant going in. I had to do a tarot reading for myself. I'm sitting on my bed at camp just going, why? It was an excruciating decision. And in the morning when we had to choose, one side of the room is gone to the devotional path and one side of the room has gone over to the demon path, and I'm standing in the middle, and I literally was like, oh my goodness, I was the last person to choose because I just wanted to avoid having to do the demon path, really. I'm really, really glad at the other side of it that I did go through with it. As usual, it wasn't as bad as my fear told me it was going to be, but it certainly was so confronting. I cried and cried and cried and had snot and tears everywhere at points of that camp, and I really had to face myself in all my parts. I had to surrender. I had to just drop in and face myself. It was so powerful. It's definitely one of the peak spiritual workings that I have done in my life. It's up there with the most profound experiences I had in 2011 working on my shamanic path. And this camp, just this one little week, kind of culminated all the work I've been doing over the last 9 months. And even the last couple of years, the shadow work that I have been doing, this really just went because it's so intense. Like, it's 1 week and you just ritual almost every night, pathworking every day. You've got this camp of 60 people in these rituals that are so ecstatic. They are so crazy. And these energies, these deities that we are calling in are so bloody present. It's a lot. So, beyond path working, beyond intense rituals that follow the arc of the story of the mythology and that kind of take you over the week, you also have a thing called affinity group, which is kind of like your little camp family. You meet every day for an hour to sit and be. You also are on a roster of cleaning duties, and so it's exactly like camp family. And sometimes, and it's really random how you get chosen. Like, you get a token when you register, and then you find the people at camp who have the same token, and that is your affinity. And you know, it's like all families. There's sometimes tricky spots, but thankfully my affinity group this year was so good. I'm so grateful for them. I shall do spells forevermore for harmonious affinity groups, because I found that time really precious. And Eris was in my affinity group. I love you, love you. Very good, we jagged that. Good work. And there was also, how many others in our affinity were there? 3 or 4? I'm forgetting how many others. But we had a great little affinity group. What else is there? There's a space called the Bower, which is a sex positive space. It's confronting and beautiful, and it is all about having a sex positive space, because really that is what sex should be, a positive thing that is as essential as eating food. And it also creates an awful lot of energy, and so that's part of reclaiming sex back as a really natural, normal thing. This space is only entered into with your 100% consent and your knowledge of your boundaries. And there's all sorts of policies and procedures that you can learn about if you look at the camp thing, if you're interested in Bower space. It's not a compulsory aspect, but it is just this intimate space where you can have massages or cuddle puddles or tea parties, or however else you want to express the divinity that is the body, our beautiful sensory self. There is this lovely room catered for that. I just think that's revolutionary in this day and age. What else does camp have? We have beautiful food there. It's all catered. You have like dorm style accommodation. The temple space is set up with all the altars dedicated to the deities of the mythology that we went through. So we had Kali, Durga, Shiva, and another space for the future that we move into after we've slayed all our demons. Maybe I'll tell you a little bit about what demons are for those people who get stuck on that word, because I know it can be very triggering for people who have come from perhaps a Christian background. What's the word? I don't know what the word is, but you know, demons aren't great. That's the point. And the reason why we worked with them and the way that they were seen in this camp is like shadow work, like shadow aspecting, but a demon was spoken of in my path as a bit more than shadow work. Shadow work is certainly the work of demon working, but these demons that we were working with were when you squash your shadow down so much, your unconscious self, parts of self down, when a culture squashes parts of all that stuff we don't want to look at, it gets all squashed down, and it's almost like the intensity of that energy creates an entity of itself. And so you can have your own personal demons, but then we have our overcultures and societies that certainly have collective demons. And we were working with our different witchcrafting powers to learn to transmute them, the demons, to learn to work with the demons, to learn to turn the demon into an ally, sometimes to learn what the medicine of the demon is. It was complex, beautiful work. And that was the work of my path. It was also the work of like the rituals. I believe in the devotional path, they did different ways of communing with personal deity and also creating daily practice. So valuable. A part of me really has a bit of FOMO that I didn't do that path. I'll just have to have a bit more chatting with Eris to see what she got out of that. The things that I took away from Witch Camp, I have literal takeaways. They have an auction where they raise money for scholarships so people can go to camp. If you don't have the money to afford a full ticket, then the auction and this raffle helps subsidise future witches going to camp. And so we participated in the raffle and I won something, so I got some books. And I have Jane Meredith's new Aspecting the Goddess and it's signed. So excited. I haven't read it yet. I'm really looking forward to reading it. I first saw this book when I was in London in April at the beautiful, what's the shop called? Is it the Alchemist? Atlantis Books in London, very witchy, and I saw her book on the shelf there and I've been wanting to read it ever since and I won a copy. Very exciting. I'll have to buy a different book of her. She has so many, so I can still support her, but we've supported Witch Camp. And then I got this one by Christopher Penczak, The Mighty Dead, which will go beautifully with my the work I'm doing with my ancestor altar and the Mighty Dead. So interesting. I didn't even know this was a book. I've really loved his other works. His Temple of Shamanic Witchcraft has been one of my favourites, but yes, I'm looking forward to reading some more of him. So I took some literal takeaways. Other things that I've taken away from camp is a real deep connection to spirit. Even more so than before. I don't feel like I need to change any of the work I'm doing. What I felt was a real trust in the processes and the path that I am on. I felt really like some big internal alchemy was going on in there, and so it's very exciting. It's almost like layers of myself were revealed to myself. There's, like I said, 40 pages in my spirit book that I can keep going back to and kind of soaking it all in. It was so intensive that I think it will be over the next couple of months that I really absorb the potency of what happened there. So watch this space and let's see what madness unfolds. Exciting. So yeah, Witch camps began in Australia in 2011. Earthsong was the first one in Victoria, and then Cloudcatcher started in 2012 in Queensland. And I didn't even know they existed until the beautiful Eris gave me the ticket to go last year. Like, how bloody, what a fortunate witch am I? Like, so I will forever be so grateful. Yeah. And now here I am in this reclaiming community. I actually feel like I'm making friends. Hallelujah. It was a ridiculous experience. So good. When I came home, yeah, we had to take Eris back to the train station the day after camp, and that was bullshit. I just cried. I just walked through the train station sobbing my little heart out. And took myself to the Muses of Mystery, as you do. I needed some candles, and I bought myself a Kali candle. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Because I really wanted to keep connecting into all of the magic of Kali that I had experienced through the camp. Listen to the back of this one. It says, she who conquers over all auspicious, the remover of darkness, the excellent one beyond time, the bearer of the skulls of impure thought, the reliever of difficulties, loving forgiveness, supporter of the universe. Take the oblations of the devotee who is one with you. Take the oblations of ancestral praise. We bow to you. Ah, Kali. So good. I have a couple of experiences with Kali growing up that I didn't remember until we were about to go to camp. When I was about 15, I remember saying to some spiritual family friends who I could usually talk to about things, not in an overly deep way, but just it was someone who didn't completely think I was bananas. Anyway, I remember telling them, for some reason, I don't even know where the idea popped in my head. I don't even know what inspired it, but for some reason I really wanted to meet Kali. I wanted to go to India and I wanted to meet Kali. And the look on these people's faces when I said I wanted to go and meet Kali, they were like, "Wah." Because in India, in the Hindu faith, she is a goddess and she is a mother goddess, but she is also sometimes thought of as a demon because she just goes into this murderous death rage. So yes, seeing that look on their faces to my little dark 15-year-old self just made me go, well, now I really want to meet her. But I had thought I had to go to India to do it, so it wasn't something I really thought was going to happen anytime soon. Then, when my beloved Maxie passed away a couple of years ago, I was in grief. I was in real grief. And in a visualization, my body melted into a puddle and kind of slid down the stairs and rested at the place where he died. It was just kind of like this puddly goo of all the feelings. And part of me didn't ever want to be anything other than where Max was. And then all of a sudden, these feet came and this big staff and this stomp of this foot, and there was Kali, and she just yelled, "Get up!" And it was really, I was like, whoa. And she just yelled again, "Get up!" And I had to take her staff and get the fuck up. And it wasn't that she was negating my grief or anything like that. She was more telling me that loathing and pity party and desire to not ever get up again was not going to serve the memory of Max, nor was it going to serve anyone. Very interesting. And then I got to go to camp and actually meet her. So curious. And it makes me wonder about spirit working, how, like, what is the bigger story with me and Kali, if she would come at these times. So curious. Because I often feel like if I'm not feeding the relationship or really working intensely with the spirit, like, why are they going to give a shit about me? Like, really? Who am I in the big cosmic soup of it all? But, you know, I am what I am. We're all a tiny speck of stardust, part of these magical spirit worlds. So, yeah, who knows? It's a great mystery, isn't it? I don't think we're meant to know. Anyway, there's so much about Witch Camp that was phenomenal and wondrous, and yeah, it was a great experience. I'll pop the links down below, so if you are inspired to go to a witch camp, you can do that, and maybe I'll see you there. That's all for me for today. Blessed be.